This here, so before I get started, make sure that you give us a like and subscribe to the channel. If you all can, that'd be greatly appreciated. Spread around a little bit more and a little bit better. So more the better. But anyways, this is the battlefield here, as you can see, where uh, the battle occurred. Definitely a few facts that I'm going to give you all today in regards to the uh, actual battle itself. So, but definitely a great place to visit if you all can. Walking down the path here a little bit. But this is the top of the, this is pretty much the top of the mountain here at Kings Mountain Military Park for the Revolutionary War battle. If you all have any questions, I'll certainly do what I can to answer. By no means am I an expert, but I'll certainly do what I can to answer. If you have any questions, I'll do what I can to answer them. I'm not an expert, but I'll certainly do what I can. So for those that are just checking in, definitely give it a like, or give the channel a like and subscribe if you all can. I'm just waiting for some people to check in before I get started. But that right up there, that right up there is actually one of the memorials here and stuff on the battlefield. Uh, they've definitely done a pretty good job as far as um, putting some things in here to commemorate those that have fallen here. So it's definitely quite a place. So it's definitely a site that they've done a great job. Uh, you'll see some fallen trees here. This was actually from one of the storms that we had come through the area several months ago in 2024, unfortunately. So you'll see quite a few of those in the general area. But anyways, this battle, the Battle of Kings Mountain, the Battle of Kings Mountain actually happened on October 7th of 1780. Yep, this is actually the Battle of Kings Mountain. This is just west of Charlotte. Uh, just west of Charlotte, North Carolina. This battle is actually fought between uh, some provisional on the British and some loyalists against the Patriot militia. Yep, North Carolina. Yep, so this battle was fought between the Patriot militia, or some backcountry folk, as they would say, some people from the backcountry up in the mountains and stuff. So they came here to oppose Patrick Ferguson and defend their freedom. Some of there was about 910 Patriot soldiers here versus just over 1,000, men on the British side. So obviously the number on the Patriot or the British was a little bigger. versus the lesser number on the Patriots. That that were on the Patriots side that were here was actually uh, William Chronicle, and of course Joseph Winston, and Benjamin Cleveland, and John Sevier, and Isaac Shelby, just to name a few people. So they were here at this battle. For those that are just checking in, please make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Some of those people were actually here during this battle. William Chronicle was actually killed in this battle. As far as some people from the British side, Patrick Ferguson was killed at this battle. For those that may not know, they actually have a memorial or a commemoration spot, as some may call it, just over the other side of that hill over there. To my knowledge, they actually moved. They actually took his body after some time and brought it back overseas. As far as where they brought it, I'm not 100% sure. I can't speak on that. But this was actually the Battle of Kings Mountain was actually a very critical battle, in my opinion. Although there was a lot of other critical battles that took place during the American Revolution, the Battle of Kings Mountain was actually one that was very, very critical, in my opinion, um, because it was definitely something. So it was a battle that really helped show that the Patriots could actually win this battle. Um, so it definitely showed. This battle showed that this battle showed that the Patriots were actually capable of winning a battle, a significant battle at that. Um, Obviously, it was one of those things. You still had people that doubt, but but considering it's kind of one of those things to where people say, "Oh, against the almighty British," and the it's against the British, one of the big superpowers of the world at the time, and people were thinking, well, gosh, that's a pretty big ask as far as like trying to oppose them in any kind of significant way. You would have to be a pretty big military power yourself to actually be able to oppose the British. Um, but anyways, Kings Mountain was actually a place that Patrick Ferguson had actually chosen this place as a location that if he had to have a battle, um, this would be the place to have it. So he used this place as a as his location. Um, he thought that it was pretty strategic because he thought that having the higher ground would give him a better chance of winning. Um, and would make it a so that's why he chose um, this particular spot. But anyways, um, background. Um, those that are seeing the down that came through, or a storm that came through here several months ago in 2024, and unfortunately took down some of the trees and caused a lot of destruction. unfortunately. But anyways, again, this is where the Battle of Kings Mountain took place in North Carolina, just west of Charlotte. Um, Something to also add, um, something that the Patriots were uh, told to do by some of the officers was that to be your own officer, quote unquote, be your own officer. Do what you need to do. Um, so with that being said, they, you know, just do what you need to do, and we will over we will overthrow the British at this battle. Or take out the British at this battle here. So that's something that was pretty significant to note. And pretty much uh, they also used guerrilla tactics, guerrilla warfare. The Patriots used the guerrilla warfare tactics here at this battle, and it actually served them well, especially against the British's three bayonet charges, which, of course, as you could imagine, when the British did bayonet charges down the sides of the mountain here, it didn't turn out as well as the British would have liked. Um, the depth perception through the camera here might be good, so I apologize for those that may be having a slight struggle determining how steep this hill is here. Some parts it's more gradual. Other parts it's less gradual. It's more just straight up. I guess to give you a determination of how hard it would be. Let me just put it this way: I'm not going to volunteer to run up this hill. Um, but anyways, it's actually in this part right here. It's a little bit more steep. I was just up there toward one of the memorials up there, up the hill. Um, I apologize. We had some people coming by on the trail here. This is so um, try to ignore them if you can. But anyways, for those that are just checking in, this is the Kings Mountain Military Park where the Battle of Kings Mountain took place. We are just west of Charlotte, North Carolina. They have a lot of interpretation signs here. They have a exhibit inside that you can check out. A museum in there. This is one of their interpretive signs here. So definitely take a look. But they also have like a 25-minute video as well that goes with this particular site or this particular battle that's inside. Um, they also have a cell phone audio tour here for those that are checking that out. For those that are just checking in again, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you all can. Would be greatly appreciated. Um, anyways, this was definitely a very crucial battle that took place during the American Revolution. This took place in the American Revolution, and at this particular battle, you had just over 1,000 men here that were under Patrick Ferguson, who was one of the British officers here that was on the British side. And then, of course, you had several American Patriot officers on the American side that were here. And some of those officers were the uh, William Chronicle, and of course Major Joseph Winston, and of course you had Benjamin Cleveland and Colonel John Sevier and Isaac Shelby, just to name a few people. Um, so those are some things to note, some very important things to note at that. If you all have any questions, please, by all means, ask away. If you have any questions, please ask. More than happy to do what I can to answer them. Um, so, by all means, this particular battle happened on October 7th of 1780. So this battle happened on October 7th of 1780 during the American Revolution. This is actually what you see here in the background is one of the memorials of or structures that they've built here. Um, there was some DAR involvement as far as this particular site about getting it started. So thanks to the DAR um, and all that sorts, this site was I forgot the exact year that this site was actually made into a national park. I'll have to look into that, but it was made into one nonetheless. Um, but anyways, this is the one of the structures that was built um, afterwards, of course. But the one that was originally here is up the hill a few paces. Um, but again, this battle was very, very crucial because of several factors. It was kind of this the reason why one of the reasons why this battle was so important is because of the fact that it was a battle that once won, it showed a lot of people on the Patriots on the Patriot side, a lot of people that lived here that a battle could be fought against the British or like won against the British. So that was something that was very, very significant about this particular battle. That's why it was so significant. So for those that didn't know that, I'm glad that I taught you something. I'd like to think so. But anyways, um, that's something that's pretty cool that I find interesting. Um, that's what I find pretty cool. Now, a lot of the as far as the weapons go that were had at this particular battle that were on the Patriot side were rifles and swords. A mix of rifles and all that sorts is was the primary weapon that was had on the Patriot side. Now, as far as the British side, something that was primarily used on the British side were muskets with bayonets. The British attempted to do uh, three charges with their bayonets, three bayonet charges, but unfortunately, they were not as successful as they would have liked because of the simple fact that this was some very, 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 very hilly terrain and all that sorts. And doing that against uh, the Patriots, who were using guerrilla warfare, who were pretty much hiding behind trees and stuff, it was a very, very hard tactic to do for that exact reason. So they were limited as to what they could do um, in that regard. Um, but ultimately, the battle lasted, I think, just over an hour, maybe, or approximately an hour. As far as the exact time, I couldn't give you the exact time offhand, but it was approximately an hour, give or take a little bit. Um, then, of course, at the end of the battle, the Patriots or the Patriot side took prisoners of I think it was like over 600 to 800 of the British approximately. So that was pretty much the deal for this particular battle. So about 600 to 800 people were taken prisoner on the British side, um, and all that sorts. Of course, there were no Patriot prisoners, of course, but then of course the the death toll from the Patriot side was significantly lower than the British side. I think that there was about 150 casualties and stuff, maybe a little bit more, give or take, on the British side. Um, I found that pretty interesting. But anyways, this is where the Battle of Kings Mountain took place during the American Revolution. It happened on October 7th, 1780. Um, and then, of course, sometime after, like a few days after, um, or actually like a few months, well, actually, I'm sorry, a few months later, the Battle of Cowpens, just up the road in Gaffney, took place. Um, that's definitely a pretty cool, interesting fact there. For those that don't know. But anyways, now how would I compare the Battle of Kings Mountain to other victories that were had by the Patriots? Well, that's a very good question. I would consider the Battle of Kings Mountain very significant. But as I mentioned before, there are other significant battles that took place uh, that I find just as significant, if not more significant. Um, that helped boost the patriot cause and the morale. The reason why I find that no one reason why I find that the Battle of Ramsar's Mill to be significant. So for those that have heard of the Battle of Ramsar's Mill, it happened in July, um, June, June, June time, June July time. Um, I forgot the exact date of the month that it happened, but I find that battle to be very significant as well compared to the Battle of Kings Mountain for the simple fact that it helped diminish most of the loyalist cause, which is great in my opinion. For those that are fans of the Patriot side, um, but anyways, if you all have any questions, please definitely drop them in the comment section, and please give the Our Living History a like and subscribe if you all can. Greatly appreciated. But anyways, um, this is actually I'm gonna try to go over to the side over here to just show how steep the the hill is here, or the mountain, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to go much further in fear of falling over the edge, but it is pretty significant. Um, so it's definitely a pretty big, a relatively decent incline for just to climb up the side. It's a pretty significant incline or whatever. Um, so imagine, so the loyalists were pretty much camped up on top of the hill here. I'm using my two phones here to one. Some people are messaging me some questions and stuff. Um, but one of the questions that I was just messaged on my other phone was where were the loyalists on this particular battle located, or where was the British provisionals? The British provisionals and loyalists were up on this hill, the top of this mountain here. That's where the loyalists and the British were, the provisionals. And of course, the Patriots were actually the ones that were technically surrounding the mountain. For those that are just checking in, this is where the Battle of Kings Mountain took place, just west of Charlotte, North Carolina. It's actually the term "hornet's nest" actually came from when the British were going into the Charlotte area. They found that it was technically a hornet's nest. But anyway, so those that are just checking in, that's the deal about that. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Um, you'll see a lot of downed trees here. This was actually caused by the storm here that had come through here a couple months ago or several months ago here in North Carolina in 2024. Um, so that's what the deal is with that is. Um, but anyways, if you all have any questions, don't be afraid to put them in the comments. Love to do what I can to, answer your questions and stuff. So, but anyways, this is where the Battle of Kings Mountain took place. For those that are just checking in, this is the Battle of Kings Mountain, just west of Charlotte, North Carolina. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. But this right here, the structure that you see right here, is one of the memorials here, or commemoration pieces here. They do have some information on them, but they have a structure up there as well, and one down here. Um, we are about 30 to 40 miles west of Charlotte. Um, this battle was fought between some British provisionals and some uh, loyalist militia, and they fought against some of the over the mountain men that came from uh, near and far. Sycamore Shoals is one of the places that they came from, and among others, they pretty much made a trek from places in Virginia to Tennessee, all the way down here to Kings Mountain to oppose Patrick Ferguson. Uh, I think that the term that Patrick Ferguson used was, "We will take you, pretty much with like sword and fire, if you do not appease to the British and all that stuff." Um, in essence, that's what it was. I forgot the exact quote, so don't quote me on that. But in essence, that was pretty much what was said. Um, but here is some information here on the actual monument here that you see here. This is the American forces right here. So some of them organized from Washington County, Virginia, Washington County, North Carolina, now Tennessee, um, Rowan County, Wilkes County, Lincoln County, and all that sorts. York and Chester County, South Carolina. Um, you know, then of course you had some of the officers like Colonel William Campbell, John Sevier, Isaac Shelby, James Williams, and Cleveland, um, and among others. So this is to commemorate the victory of Kings Mountain on October 7th of 1780, and erected by the government of the United States to the establishment of which the heroism and patriotism of those who participated in this battle so largely contributed. There's some people passing by us just over there that are coming by, so excuse that. Um, so some that were killed were here. If you have an interest, you might want to try to screenshot this if you all can and look at it more closely if that's a something that you're interested in doing. But anyways, this is where the Battle of Kings Mountain took place on October 7th of 1780. Um, you'll see this is this is the side of the mountain over here that the battle was fought on and stuff. As you can see from the side over there, it's relatively steep, steep enough that I'm not going to want to just walk up it or run up it unless I had to. Um, but anyways, one of the significant things that was said by one of the officers, I think that it was John Sevier that said it. I think it was John Sevier that said it. Was pretty much be your own officer at this battle. You know, be your own officer. You know, um, pretty much in essence, that's what was said. Um, so I found that pretty interesting, in my opinion. But anyways, for those that have any questions, please, please definitely but anyways, this is where the Battle of Kings Mountain took place. The loyalists were actually or the British were actually put up on this particular. They were on the top of the hill, the top of the mountain here. That's where the British were, and the Patriots were actually the ones that were trying to crest the mountain. Um, this location was actually chosen by Patrick Ferguson. He felt that this was the most defensible position that he had considering his options. Um, so he kind of felt that was that this was the best defensible place for him to try to win. I guess that's his personal choice. Um, but anyways, he did try to reach out to um, General Lord Cornwallis in regards to getting reinforcements. He wanted to get well, obviously as many men as he could, but he did want, from what I'm told by one of the Rangers here, is that I think that he did request some cavalry. Um, um, so I found that pretty fascinating. But so found that to be an interesting fact. But anyways, those that are just checking in, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We definitely appreciate you all here. Um, but the battle actually took place on October 7th of 1780, and definitely pretty interesting. Um, but anyways, another significant battle that I find, or another battle that I found pretty significant compared to this battle, the Battle of Kings Mountain, was also the Battle of Musgrove's Mill, which actually happened just 3 days after the Battle of Camden, which was like in August. Um, but anyways, the Kings Mountain Military Park, the battlefield here is actually just about 30 to 40 miles west of Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's definitely a pretty interesting location. The British were occupying Charlotte at the time, so Ferguson kept reaching out to So Ferguson kept reaching out to Cornwallis to get reinforcements, but unfortunately, um, he was not able to get, you know, those reinforcements. Unfortunately, so he could only do what he could. Um, so of course, after like numerous attempts to reach out to Cornwallis, General Cornwallis on the British side, Patrick Ferguson was not able to get the reinforcements that he had requested. Um, and to my understanding is that Cornwallis was actually sick at the time, and also uh, Pat, Tarleton, Bannister Tarleton was actually sick at the time as well, which I found interesting. Um, allegedly, allegedly sick at the time. So, excuse the people that are coming here. They're just coming down the trail here, but trying to go up to the side here to this handy dandy bench. Um, but anyways, this is part of the battlefield right here. Down yonder there. It's actually the battlefield trail here is actually about the battlefield trail is actually about a mile and a half, according to the signage. Um, I think that's approximately what it is. But again, as I had mentioned, the the Patriots were the ones that were trying to climb up the mountain versus the British side that was already encamped encamped up here on top of the hill here. Um, so pretty much what the deal was that Patrick Ferguson was the one that chose this location, and he felt that it was the considering the options that this would be the most defensible. Oh, nice dog. He felt that this would be the most defensible area considering his options. So that was pretty much the ordeal. Um, but this is actually one of the commemoration structures that are here on the battlefield that commemorate the the victory here of the Battle of Kings Mountain. This again, I find that this battle was very very significant in my opinion, for the simple fact that for the very simple fact that it showed that a battle could actually be won against the British. That's why I find the Battle of Kings Mountain to be very significant. Yes, there were other battles that were significant. Um, so I'm not particularly naming Kings Mountain um, as a lone battle that was significant. I actually consider several other battles significant, in my opinion, to be very significant for that very reason. Like I consider, although it was not a victory, um, I consider, although it was not a, as mentioned, it was not a victory, but I do consider the Battle of the Waxhaws a significant battle because of the simple fact that it got people all wild up and all angry. So that's why I find it to be very significant. Um, it got it got a lot of people in the backcountry angry, and it got people to choose a side. So it got a lot more people to choose a side because of that battle. That's why I find the Battle of Waxhaw significant compared to this battle. Um, I know I keep mentioning other battles that are significant as well, but I know that was a question that was messaged to me a little bit ago as to what are other battles that I find significant compared to the Battle of Kings Mountain. Um, but so that's my answer. Musgrove's Mill was also another battle that was significant for its own reason. Although some of these battles may have happened before and after, the Battle of the Waxhaws happened before Kings Mountain. Um, I think it was like very late May, maybe June. The Battle of Waxhaws happened, but this is actually again for those that are just checking in. This is actually where the Battle of Kings Mountain um, occurred here during the American Revolution. So for those that are curious to know, this is where it happened. I'm actually right on top of the mountain here, the mountain now. Um, viewing here. Um, so definitely, if you all have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out and drop your questions in the comments. But anyways, right here. Um, I'm gonna keep going until the reception gets so bad. I know that the video is probably a little bit lower quality. I only have like 2 or 3 bars up here. But anyways, this is where the Battle of Kings Mountain happened. Um, we are just west of Charlotte, North Carolina. So we are just west of Charlotte, North Carolina. And this battle happened on October 7th, 1780. There was about 910 Patriot forces. They chose about over about 910 of the best riflemen to come to this battle. The tactics that were used by the Patriots was actually guerrilla warfare. A lot of these people actually came from the backcountry and all that sorts, so they were familiar with how to use a rifle and very, very proficiently at that. So um, so they pretty much hid behind trees and stuff. Um, so just imagine, pretty much people were hiding behind trees and all that sorts. Probably bigger than that one. Um, but anyways, that's the that's what the Battle of Kings Mountain was about. Um, Something that kind of got people all wild up was when Ferguson said about setting flame and sword, to the backcountry and all that stuff. That pretty much got a lot of people angry and hang all the leaders and stuff. Um, like John Sevier, William Chronicle, and all them. Um, so that's pretty much the story. But anyways, this is the Battle of Kings Mountain. For those that are interested in knowing. So we are going to start to slowly head down the hill. So for those that are on here, if we cut out and the video ends, I apologize. It's the bad reception. Um, but anyways, this is where the Battle of Kings Mountain occurred in October 7th of 1780. And it was a battle that was won by the Patriots. For those that are checking in, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And this is another memorial here for those that are interested. But anyways, again, this is where the Battle of Kings Mountain occurred, and this was fought between some British provisionals and some British loyalists against some Patriot backcountrymen. The over the mountain men. That's what they are regularly uh, labeled as. But you had some important people on the Patriots side, like William Chronicle, William Chronicle, and then of course John Sevier and Isaac Shelby. So you had a lot of important people. Now, actually, we were actually starting to head towards where Ferguson was initially buried, but he is no longer buried there. He is actually buried at another location. I guess, he was brought overseas. Um, as far as where he was brought, I'm not 100% sure. I couldn't tell you offhand as to where he was brought, but he was brought overseas. Um, so that's the my understanding of what the situation was. But this is the battle where the Battle of Kings Mountain occurred. So for those that are just checking in, we are just west of Charlotte, North Carolina, about 30 to 40 miles west. Um, some interesting information about this particular battle is that Patrick Ferguson, Major Patrick Ferguson, was actually the one in command of the British soldiers or the British, the provisional soldiers, as well as the loyalists here. He was in charge of those particular men here. Um, and he had just over 1,000 men under his command. And he actually picked this particular location for its defensive, um, uh, for the simple fact that this was the best defensible position and stuff. Um, the British were actually placed. The British were placed on the top of this mountain here. It goes just past this structure here, um, up a ways about several hundred yards over yonder. Um, but we were actually heading. Yes, actually, they do say, as far as his particular unit, yes. Um, as far as I know, Patrick Ferguson was the only one born overseas. Um, as far as the people that were under his command, yes, that would be true. Um, so yes, as far as the research that I've done, that would be true. Yes, as far as I know. Um, because the men that were under his command were either provisional or loyalists. Pretty much, they were, from over here. Um, but anyways, he is not buried here anymore. Initially, he was, but I forgot when he was brought back overseas to be reinterned. I'm not. I'm unsure of the year, but they have it on the gravestone. The gravestones just over the way over there. I'm sure they have it over there, but as far as the exact date that they brought him back overseas, I'm unsure of. Um, as far as skinwalkers, I'm not addressing that. I'm staying out of this in that regard, so I apologize. Um, I tend to stray, I tend to stray away from the EBGBs and all that stuff. Um, Whenever I go to these historic sites where I stay overnight for either reenactments or events, I tend to sleep in my car and keep it all locked and tight and uh, say your prayers for those that believe and call it a day. But anyways, this is actually where the Battle of Kings Mountain took place on October 7th, 1780. Um, this is it's not extremely rough terrain, but it is pretty rough, relatively rough, but it's not like extremely rough. But the incline as far as the hills go is pretty significant. It is pretty significant. Um, so they were they were actually making this. They actually made the incline look relatively easy, in my opinion. Um, but this is a pretty cool place, actually, in my opinion. I do try to make a visit here at least once or twice a year, if not more. I find it to be a good place to get some exercise. So I tend to come here for exercise as well as keeping my uh, quote product knowledge up to date. Um, I try to be as familiar as I can with some of these battles, considering I live so close by. But we are just west of Charlotte, North Carolina, about 30 to 40 miles. So we're not too far away. Um, but for those that are just checking in, please like and subscribe if you all can. Would greatly appreciate it. Um, but yes, this is one battlefield that I do try to make it a point to come by and visit for that reason because it's so close by. But uh, this is a really cool battlefield to come by if you ever have it. If you ever have the chance, uh, please come on by. You'll be glad that you did. Um, but anywho, um, uh, you'll see that there's a lot of down trees in the background. That's actually remnants of a storm that came by here uh, several months ago in 2024, and unfortunately caused damage to the landscape as far as down trees and other things. So it caused unfortunate damage and all that sorts. But anyways, this is uh at the museum or at the uh inside the actual visitor center here at the national or the Kings Mountain National Battlefield or Military Park. They actually have a pretty cool visitor center as far as like an exhibit in the museum inside. They have some uh, examples of some of the muskets and rifles, or the rifles that were used by the Over Mountain men, and some weapons that were used by them, as well as a Ferguson rifle. Um, so that was pretty fascinating. They also have some. Uh, they also have a 25-minute video that they have, which is really nice. So it definitely goes over the battle and all that sorts. As far as uh, some of the content, it goes over a lot of the stuff that happened during the battle. This is actually a memorial or a commemorative structure that they have here at the site to commemorate the victory at the Battle of Kings Mountain. Don't mind that that rifle fire or the musket fire over there. They're doing demonstrations. They also do those here too. Um, for this particular commemorative structure, um, but they actually it's actually pretty darn cool uh, how it's commemorative and stuff. Um, but anyways, this is actually the side of the hill or the side of the mountain um, here. Uh, I don't know if the uh, camera does a good job as far as depth perception, but it seems to kind of leave that out a little bit as far as depth perception. But um, it definitely seems to be a pretty significant incline here. So for those that are, that appreciate steep inclines or don't appreciate it, um, you can just imagine, you know, the well, the struggle that it may have been to come up the side of this mountain here during that battle. So you can just imagine the struggle that was had to get up here. The British were actually the ones that were taking a stand on top of the mountain here, Kings Mountain here. They were the ones that were trying to maintain their position here. Patrick Ferguson found that, or figured that this would be the best defensible position, considering his options and whatnot. And the Patriots, or otherwise known as the Over Mountain Men, were actually the ones that were having to climb up these steep incline and stuff. So it was definitely quite the feat, in my opinion. You know, um, I know, and a lot of the people that were on the Patriot side were using rifles. Um, they were using a lot of guerrilla warfare, which I found pretty fascinating. They were using a lot of guerrilla warfare to be able to overtake the British and win, which was really, really cool to know. Whereas the British were just using muskets. So the Patriots were using rifles and whatnot. For those that do not know the difference between a musket and a rifle has rifling inside, which helps the bullet go further, more accurately further, if or accurately at a further distance. Whereas a musket, you don't shoot as far accurately. It's a less accurate, according to what people say. I personally say that it all just depends on the marksman. Um, you can get a marksman that's really, really good and knows what he's doing and can shoot pretty far with a musket. But that goes with anything. Really just depends on the marksman, in my opinion. But that's the story with that. Um, so if you all have any questions, please drop them into the comments. I definitely appreciate everyone's questions so far that I've gotten messaged, and also pinned to the comment section. So I appreciate everyone's comments and questions and sorts. If you have any more, uh, please drop them into the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. And I'll do what I can to answer them for you. Kind of makes me feel more smart whenever people ask questions and I have an answer off the record. But anyways, that's pretty much the story. There were about 910 Patriots here, versus the just over 1,000 men on the British side. So you had a little bit bigger force on the British side versus the little bit smaller side on the uh, Patriots. Um, so that's a pretty significant size difference, or a little bit of a difference, but nothing crazy, but it is well enough. But Ferguson chose this particular location, Kings Mountain, because he felt that this was the most defensible position for what he was doing, wanting to do, to defend him and his men under his command. But I guess in hindsight, yes, it may have been a better defensible position, but how things turned out was not quite how he wanted. Um, and I feel that it was mostly because of the tactics that were used by the Patriots. The Patriots used a lot of guerrilla warfare, and they were able to come out on top because of that. So I found that to be pretty fascinating, in my opinion. So for those that are just checking in, um, please like and subscribe to the channel. Would love to have you be a part of our movement, as I like to call it. Um, so for those that are uh, so, f- so for those that are unfamiliar, we do have a Facebook group called Our Living History, and it has a big cannon fire as the background of the page. So please check it out. That's where we post most of our videos. Yes, we post on YouTube, but that's where most of our videos go. And we also use it uh, as a line of communication for everyone to keep everyone informed as to when we will be doing events and going to events. As mentioned in our last YouTube live video, we have a lot of events planned for this coming year as far as me partaking in reenactments as well as spectating. Um, some big events that we plan to partake in is the Battle of the Waxhaws, um, and uh, among others, Battle of the Waxhaws at the Museum of the Waxhaws in Waxhaws, North Carolina. So we will be going there. We will also be going to Camden in November, approximately. They haven't announced the official date yet, but that's the story. But anyways, this is the side of the um, mountain here at Kings Mountain National Military Park. This is where the Battle of Kings Mountain occurred. Um, that sorts. That's a nice dog over there. Um, but anyways, this is the story. You'll see that there's a lot of downed trees in the background. You'll see there's a lot of downed trees in the background. That's actually from the storm that came through here several months ago here in 2024. Um, so that's why there's several downed trees here. Um, but anyways, that's what's going on here. Um, but anyways, um, one of the things that I find pretty fascinating about this battle, not necessarily about well, not necessarily about the battle itself, but about the something that was actually said by one of the officers, is that um, he, I think that it may have been John Sevier that said it, but he said to be your own officer. And I found that pretty fascinating. Um, Pretty much giving the soldiers to do, they were under his command to do what they needed to do. So I found that to be really interesting. Um, so that's probably one of the more fascinating things that I have to say about this battle here is just that. Um, but if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. We definitely appreciate a lot of that. Um, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. So drop them in the comments if you have them, and I'll keep doing the YouTube live for as long as you all are engaged and watching. Um, and I'll do what I can to answer your questions. Um, but anyways, um, as far as comparing this to other battles, as far as how significant this battle was versus other ones, I find it, it's obviously pretty hard to really compare and contrast. And it's, well, not necessarily compare and contrast, but to kind of say, oh, which one was more significant. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of battles that were significant in that regard. Um, um, I think that one thing that I must say, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for it, and I hope I don't get canceled. But I think that there's a lot of people that talk about oh, Kings Mountain, or Cowpens, 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 but they don't talk about the smaller or the lesser known battles. You know, you get less people talking about. I mean, unfortunately, there was less people talking about Cowan's Ford, or that happened during the Race to the Dan, and you have less people talking about the Battle of the Waxhaws. You don't have many people talking about Ramser's Mill. You don't have people talking about Musgrove's Mill. You know, you don't have people talking about that kind of stuff. You don't have people talking about those battles for some reason, or as much. And I find those battles to be very, very significant, in my opinion. Among other battles, um, you know, so there was a lot that I feel that really plays into this, as far as um, as far as battles that are significant. Um, but anywho, um, yes, this particular uh this particular battle site is actually just west of Charlotte, North Carolina. We were about 30 to 40 miles west of Charlotte, North Carolina. Um, yeah, so we were about 30 to 40 miles west of Charlotte, North Carolina, and um, Patrick Ferguson picked this location as he felt that it was the best defensible position, considering his options, I guess. Um, but anyways, Patrick Ferguson tried sending messages to General Lord Cornwallis for help, after he kind of got word of what may or may not be coming his way. He tried sending messages to Cornwallis for assistance, but all requests for all requests for assistance were were not answered. They all went unanswered. Unfortunate for him, they all went unanswered. Um, Tarleton was sick at the time. Bannister Tarleton was sick at the time. Cornwallis was sick at the time. So they're really, you know, so I guess as far as getting assistance, I mean, yeah, there were other options, but we really didn't have, much choice. I mean, if they kind of went unanswered, it's like, yeah, well, good luck. Um, so that's the thing. But anyways, that's the story with this situation. This is actually where the Battle of Kings Mountain took place on October 7th of 1780, and they do not have any reenactments here, but they do have um, days that they do demonstrations. They they typically try to have a they typically try to have an event here near the battle weekend, the weekend that the like kind of like October 7th. They try to have like an event around that particular time to do a commemoration, or to do like a kind of like a demonstration weekend where they do like informatives and a bunch of ranger led tours and sorts. Um, so that's pretty fascinating. It's great that this site does that. But we are actually walking now back down towards the. Uh, we are actually walking back down toward the visitor center. So if I so the reception kind of conks out, I apologize. Um, but the grave site for uh, Patrick Ferguson is actually down this way. I'm hoping that I can make it to the site with relatively good reception. So I apologize if it doesn't quite make it. But if it does, great. Um, but down here is actually where the burial site for Patrick Ferguson was. It's not currently here. They actually ended up I guess sometime after the fact that he was buried here, they actually exhumed the body and brought it back overseas. As far as where it is now currently, I'm not sure where it is exactly now, but I know that his body was brought back overseas sometime after the battle. Um, I'm unsure as to where it is now, but um, one can only wonder. There is documentation as to where they brought it back to. I just don't have that or know that on hand. Yes, we are actually at the Battle of Kings Mountain here in Kings Mountain, North Carolina. We are just west of Charlotte, North Carolina. Um, sorry, I don't know if it's um, well, we're near Kings Mountain, South Carolina, but it's labeled as that general vicinity. Um, but we are just west of Charlotte, about 30 to 40 miles. Um, but we are slowly creeping down the hill toward where. Well, yes. Why is this place a thing? This is actually where the Battle of Kings Mountain took place during the American Revolution. This is actually the battlefield that the battle was fought on October 7th of 1780. Um, so that's why this particular battlefield is so significant. Um, I hope I answered your question. I hope I did. Um, but yes, it's very important for that reason. Um, so that's why it's so. Hope I answered your question. Um, but anyways, that's the story with this. Um, but there were about 910 Patriot uh, Patriots here versus just over 1,000. Um, I'm unsure of your question, Zach. Maybe if you could rephrase it. Um, I my apologies. I'm having under trouble reading your comment. Would be more than happy to answer it if I can. Um, but yes, this was a battle that was had between the uh, Patriot over mountain men, the men that came from a number of places, such as um, places just south of in Virginia or Tennessee, to or what are now Virginia and Tennessee, as well as um, North Carolina and the general area. Um, so that's what that's about. Um, as far as the over mountain men, so that it pretty much consisted of a lot of different people. Um, and of course, they were pretty much the weapon of choice for the Patriots were rifles, and they were all very, very well trained in using rifles. They were they pretty much used the Patriots used a lot of guerrilla warfare against the British, which is pretty much a pretty significant reason as to why they were so successful and why they won the battle. Um, the the British tried to do 3 bayonet charges. Unfortunately, they were not as effective as they would have liked against the Patriots for that reason, because they were using guerrilla warfare and hiding behind trees, and pretty much what it was called by the Patriots was Indian play, um, according to them, as to how it was labeled. Um, that's what's so significant about it. Um, but anyways, we are just west of Charlotte, North Carolina. about 30 to 40 miles west. We have some people coming up behind us, so I apologize for all the loud noises, loud voices. Whenever I'm at historic sites or whatever, I try not to be too disturbing as far as yelling and screaming, to kind of respect the battlefield and stuff. Um, but anyways, uh, this is where the Battle of Kings Mountain took place uh, during the American Revolution. I found this to be pretty cool, a pretty cool site, in my opinion. Um, so that's why I like it, is because it's so close to where I'm based out of. Um, but anyways, try to ignore the crazies in the background. Um, so, but that's the story there. Um, but anyways, I'm gonna try to move down the way here a little bit, out of the way. Um, but that's what's so. Daddy, we should take them some logs. Oh, there's the path, Daddy. Oh, actually, the path goes down that way. I'm just over here. Don't mind me. But anyways, uh, Lord have mercy. Anyways, uh, if you look, uh, once these people move a little bit out of the way, you'll be able to see the gravestone right there where Patrick Ferguson was buried. He was buried right there, Patrick Ferguson. I'm afraid if I go down there, the reception might conk out and we might lose connection. But that's where his gravesite was up until he was exhumed or whatever and brought back overseas. Um, but anyways, that's the Battle of Kings Mountain. Um, I'm pretty much gonna clock out here, and if you all have any questions, just drop them in the comments. And for those that are still with us, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And I sure hope you all liked the video. Um, glad that you all stuck with us and all that sorts. And hope you all liked the video and appreciate it. But if you hang on for another minute or two, hopefully the reception holds out long enough for me to show you the former grave site of Patrick Ferguson. If it conks out, I apologize and hope you liked the video. But this is the grave site of where Patrick Ferguson was buried before he was moved. He is no longer there. He was brought back overseas, but he was, according to some research, he was one of the only officers in this particular unit that he managed that was from overseas. Otherwise, his unit consisted of provisional soldiers as well as loyalists. This is actually his grave site right there again, where it was. He is no longer buried there. I am unsure of where he's buried now, but he is buried overseas, to my knowledge. I'm just unsure as to where. Um, so, but this is the grave site here. So for those that see a bunch of fallen wood, trees and stuff in the background, this is actually the storm damage that occurred during the hurricane that we had come through here several months ago in 2024. But anyways, this is where Patrick Ferguson was buried. To the memory, uh, of Colonel Patrick Ferguson, 71st Regiment Highland Light Infantry, born in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, in 1774. Or no, wait, 1744. I'm sorry, 1744. Killed October 7th, 1780, in action at Kings Mountain while in command of the British troops. A soldier of military distinction and of honor. This is pretty much his gravesite here. But he is no longer here, buried here at the moment. He's actually overseas, as mentioned before. So he's not here anymore. But that's the story with this. So I hope that I answered all of your questions. If you all liked the video, please like and subscribe. And stay tuned. Check out our Facebook group called Our Living History. It has a cannon, a picture of a cannon in the background. I'm not sure if that's where this video, where that video that you specified was filmed. I'm not sure if that's the case. Where Ernest Scared Stupid was filmed. I'm not sure. I can't answer that. I'm not sure. But for those that like the video, please like and subscribe. And please check out our Living History page and group. We try to keep everyone in touch and everyone informed through those. So check them out if you can. This is the Kings Mountain battlefield here. This is where the Battle of Kings Mountain happened. I'm sorry, this is where the Battle of Kings Mountain happened on October 7th of 1780. Again, if you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and hope to talk to you all soon. Have a great rest of the day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Checking out.